Hello everybody, and I have to tell you, this is the first time I've ever gone live on time. Literally, it's had the countdown, went down to 0, and bam, there I was live. It's ridiculous. I'm all set up, I'm on time, I'm dressed. You can't see my washing from yesterday. The windows are ready. All I need now is a power cut like I had last week in the middle of a Facebook Live to ruin the effect. But there isn't one yet. So what happens is, welcome to this. It's the third of 9 photo appreciations. And this is the new one down here on the left bottom. And that's what we're going to start with. So let me come back to you. So the plan is the first 5 minutes, I tell you about my masterclass, because this is the warm-up to my masterclass that's starting in a week. And then we go right into 9 in-depth photo analyses of 3 of my photographs and 6 of yours. And then the last 10 minutes is in-depth talk about my masterclass. So in the middle, is the guts of it. And that will actually be a bonus. If you sign up for the masterclass, the bonus will be all of the 9 times 9 in-depth photo analyses, and you're going to see 9 of them today. So if you like them and you missed the others, well, you join the masterclass and you get all 9 minus the blurb, the blah blah, as a bonus. So let me tell you about the masterclass. I'm going to share my window with you. So it seems to be working. I seem to be live. So I'm going to close that. This is the Creative Smartphone Photography group where you can see it. But if you want to leave comments and that I can see them, you need to be watching on my personal profile, which is facebook.com/𝗪𝗺. All right, /𝗪𝗺, and you should see me. So I'm going to get rid of that. Am I going to get rid of it? No, I'm just going to move over here and show you. This is the page that you go to. It's just trying to play around with this a little bit. If you go to infinitecreativity.now.com, you get to this page. And as you can see, you can click here. It says early bird booking now open for the masterclass. I've been playing around a little bit. As you see, I've got the masterclass is starting in about a week. Then there's a blog and article writing masterclass after that in May or June, maybe starting early June. And then there's a more general masterclass about creativity called Infinite Creativity Masterclass. And what that is, I don't impose a type of project on you. It's not writing, it's not photography, but it could be. You come with your project and we help you finish it. But the project is very open. But having said that, we define it so that you do finish it by the end. But that one in the autumn, it's much more about the process of creativity rather than a specific topic like photography or writing. So it's absolutely, it'll be fantastic, fascinating subject. How to be as creative as possible and how to produce, because it's all very well having loads of ideas, but how do you actually produce those ideas? So we deal with discipline and motivation and stuff like that. Got a couple of people saying hello. I'll say hello in a second. So I just wanted to show you, I'm going to talk about the smartphone photography masterclass. This is the banner for the blog and article writing masterclass, which is coming up in June. And then I was playing around with the Infinite Creativity Now masterclasses in the autumn. There's me being touched by the hand of someone or other with a heart next to me. That's a more intense one there. And there's me in the street next to a Desperado can. Born creative. What more could you want? And we all are, of course. So a couple more minutes to tell you about this. Actually, I don't have many minutes at all. So you click on this and you go to the main page for signing up for the masterclass. And it's starting in a week, as you can see there. There's a countdown timer. That's the end of the early bird sign-up time. The early bird sign-up time gives you another, it gives you $100 off the price. So it's really, really worth doing. And you also get some really nice bonuses. I don't have time. I'm running out of my 5 minutes now. So I'll look at this at the end. The last 10 minutes of this show, after the photo analysis, will be me looking at this page in depth. Okay, and it's a really nice page. I'm very happy with it. And you learn all about the class. and everything that we're going to do and the bonuses. And you can ask questions. So that's 5 minutes. Over to the photo analysis, and let's see who's watching. If anyone has said hello, 𝗕𝗀𝗪𝗧 and 𝗪𝗏𝗪. Hello, my friends. Nice to see you. Okay. 𝗕𝗀𝗪𝗧 says, "Yay, made it live with you." Yeah, well, 𝗕𝗀𝗪𝗧, although you didn't contribute a photograph this time, I did take one of yours, and 𝗪𝗪𝗪, I think I took one of yours as well. 𝗪𝗪𝗪 says, "Bonjour, ça." She speaks, elle parle français. Bonjour. Au Pérou. And 𝗕𝗀𝗪𝗧 is in Germany. All right, so whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay, hello, and let's launch right into the show. And I'm going to find all of the wonderful pictures we're going to talk about today. Are you ready? As usual, there's 3 of mine and 6 of yours. And 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, there's one of yours as well. Okay, I found one of yours. You didn't specifically ask for a comment, but I needed all right. Keep your comments coming in if you like, no problem, and I'll try to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to just talk about this stuff. I've got 2 of mine are of the same subject, but taken in a very different way, very different light, if you like. And this is of the Louvre pyramid, as you can see here. Beautiful view as you come through part of the Louvre, one of the arches, and if you're lucky and the sun's going down, you've got the sun just behind the pyramid. It's absolutely stunning. It's a pure picture postcard photograph, and you want to make it look as beautiful as possible. For one thing, that means getting rid of people. There's always someone in front of this thing there's these blocks, these concrete blocks. It's like they're made to have tourists standing on them doing things like this, like they're holding the pyramid from the pinnacle, or they're going like this, or no, this is a favorite. Hang on, where are we? This is a favorite. They go like this, and in their photograph, the pyramid is sitting on their hand. Isn't that cute? But it ain't creative photography, really, is it? It's still tourist snaps. So you do what you can with what you've got. As you come through and you realize that's it, we've got a great shot, it's going to be good. Don't just take the shot. I mean, you can, but if you do, you probably miss a couple of things. So this is pretty simple, to be honest. The dramaticness of it, to be honest, was helped with applications in the smartphone afterwards, but you still had to start with something good. And starting with something good means the sky has to be nice. In other words, not just a bland, empty sky. So there was some really lovely cloud texture there to start with. The sun was going down. It wasn't too high that it blinded the camera. It was low enough that the color had started to seep into the clouds, but it wasn't so low that it's disappeared. So you've got the sun, you can see the sun, but it's just the sun is actually where it's pure white, and then there's a bit of pale yellow. So you've got the sun, and there's this kind of, it's shining through this tree, making this tree red. So that's really nice. It could have been behind the pyramid. As it happens, it's kind of on one side of the pyramid. That's fine. I mean, you can manipulate nature a bit, but in the end, nature's doing what nature does. So you got to appreciate that as well. And if it had been shining through the pyramid, that would have been a different photograph. And quite simply, the pyramid is on the left. If I'd put the pyramid in the middle, it would have been not very interesting. Pyramid in the middle, and what else? Maybe the edge of that lamp, or maybe another lamp on the, I don't know. I can't remember what there was. But what I've done is I tried to balance the photograph. If you look, there's a kind of a diagonal going like this, or is it like this? From the edge of the pyramid, if you follow that edge up over the sun, you reach the top of the lamp, which also, there's 2 lamps, which also have a kind of diagonal which carries on. So that's pretty pleasing. And the pyramid's off to the left, and the lamp fills in the right. The pyramid is wider, but lower. The lamp is narrower, but higher. And because the lamp explodes out into about 5 different lamps at the top, that nicely fills in that top right-hand part, which would be kind of possibly boring if it didn't do that. Now, I'm not saying the composition's perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. It is what it is. I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, maybe I should have had more space on the right, in between the lamp and the edge of the photograph. but my style is also, it's square, so I've got to work within that constraint. And I did what I could. I can't remember what the original was like, but you're stuck with the original as well. I mean, you can crop to an extent, but there's very little else you can do. So I probably cropped to get that. I normally take more of the scene than I intend to use. Not always, but sometimes I do. And sometimes I don't shoot as a square photograph. When I'm a bit nervous that I'm not going to get everything I want in, I'll have it a rectangular photograph, and then I'll crop it down. You know, it's fine to have too much stuff and you crop down, but the danger is if you haven't got enough in the photograph and you wish you'd zoomed out a little bit. And looking closely down at the bottom, right at the bottom here, there is a kind of messy, there's a tourist bus behind the pyramid. But because it's dark and because I've put them really, really low in the bottom, you don't really see that at all. Monuments in Paris, you have tourists. You can't get away from this fact. Maybe talk a little bit about this. You've got a streak of this aeroplane, and you've even got a streak, a horizontal streak there. I'm not sure what it is. I think it might be a real airplane zooming past, and the streak is an old one. Is this a shame? Is this, you know, is it something to be avoided? I don't know. Sometimes the sky can look pretty spectacular when it's got a whole bunch of these crisscrossing. You know, it's not nature as such, but it still can be impressive. And again, you do what you can with what you've got. So I don't think the streak there is detrimental to the photograph. It's there, and it's what it is. Right, so let's move on to the second one. And you'll find that my third photograph is actually the same subject in a completely different way. You can actually see it at the top of the screen, but it's so small you won't probably be able to guess what it's like. Now the second one is from Ďespina in Greece, and she says, "Hello, Sab. The photo is not edited at all. I would like to hear your suggestions. Cropping, editing, you know better than me." Is she talking to me there? Well, she's got some sort of, I don't know if I should accept her sort of blatant blanket statement about my photographic capabilities on her photographs. She knows better than I do on her photographs. But what's the first thing that strikes me? Well, what's the first thing that strikes you? Feel free to write, you know, what is the first thing that strikes you about this photograph? It could be aesthetic, you know, something you like about it, or it could be something which you think could automatically make it better. For me, this doesn't always happen. For me, immediately, there's something I would like to try. I don't know if you've guessed what it is, but I'll show you. It's this. See if I can get the settings right today. I was fumbling around a bit yesterday. Oh, there we go. Messed up. Messed up big time. What about if we try that? Oh, no. How does that seem to you guys? Now, I'm not saying it's better or worse, but look, if you compare that to the original, look at all this stuff that you've got here. A huge ton of sky, and that's not even all. Huge, like 1/3, literally 1/3 is this brown stuff. 1/3 is this grey stuff. And 1/3, less than, is the photograph. So I'm just asking myself one little question. What if she'd actually done this when she was taking the photograph? And possibly zoomed if you can zoom. Not zooming in like doing this with your fingers. That's a disaster. You're just throwing pixels down the drain. But either you've got to zoom, you can click and it zooms, or you can walk towards them. That's called there's two types of zooms in photography. One is the zoom with the camera, like you turn the lens on the traditional cameras, or on this, you press a button if you've got two lenses, and it swaps over to the lens that takes you closer. And the other zoom is these things here. Oh, you can't see. They're called legs. And if you move them one after the other towards what you're taking a photograph of, the subject gets bigger. It's really amazing. And it's not the same type of zoom. It doesn't, because if you just zoom standing where you are, the perspective is the same. Nothing changes in relation to anything else. But if you move with your legs, everything changes. Like the background changes in relation to the foreground. So actually, they're totally different types of zoom. And moving around with your legs and even your arms up and down, left, right, in and out is much more powerful because you're changing what's happening in the shot. You're not just making it bigger or getting edges. Zoom from not moving, all you're doing is getting rid of the edges. As simple as that. So I would quite simply have done this, boom, and taken a photograph. And you would have ended up, if you notice, you'd have ended up with, you know, a smartphone-sized photograph, but this way round, which is the subject. Let's face it, what is the subject? It's not that top bit of sky. It's not the top bit of dirt. It's this. And the subject is quite clearly horizontal. You've got three people in a row, not just three people, but three people with dogs who are standing next to them. So it's a very wide photograph. So you need a landscape shot to do this justice, unless there's some really good reason, like a stunning sky, and you make the stunning sky take up, you know, four-fifths of the top of the picture, and you've got these three down in the bottom. Then you could do it, but it's not the case here. Apart from that, what about the photograph? Isn't it cool? And it's very interesting. I was talking about this yesterday. When you can't see the faces, it turns it into a more symbolic photograph of a family walk rather than, oh, look, there's Jenny and there's Sally and there's Rachel and there's Fido and there's Rover. And look, Bernie's doing a crap. So there's something to be said for not showing faces. For example, it turns a certain woman into a kind of a symbol for all women, as we saw in the first session, I think, when I showed you that the back of that woman standing sort of enigmatically waiting for a train that was pulling in. So this could be any family, really, couldn't it? What a lucky family. 3 girls and 3 dogs. Maybe they're friends, I don't know, but whose is it again? It's Thespina's. Are those your daughters, Thespina? Wow, wonderful. Okay, so that's lovely, isn't it? Now this one is completely different. And this one is from Ingrid, or Ingrid. I think she's more French, or I can never remember. But I know she speaks French. You speak French, Ingrid. And she posted this just like it was. And I put a little note saying, for me to talk about it, I'd like a question. And she gave me a question. It wasn't exactly the question I was expecting. It was, what is it? And I thought, okay, fair enough. But then that made me think, well, here's something. You know what's really fun is actually taking bits of things where you can't see the whole thing and then making it a quiz. All of a sudden, just posting some boring, stupid photograph without any commentary, which people are supposed to like or whatever, it becomes a quiz. You have to be more inventive as you take the shot, and people have to think to guess what it is. Now, the very first thing I thought, you can be thinking, what is it? The first thing I thought was, well, it's obviously a ball bearing on some sugar. This was my, at first glance. And I didn't think any more about it until I asked her for a comment, and she said, what is it? And I thought, oh, let me have a look again. So I did. And I was really thinking this was a ball bearing, a silver ball bearing on some sugar for some reason. I don't know why it would be there on sugar, but there it is. And then now I'm not so sure. Right? I'm going to zoom in a bit. See, this isn't looking like sugar anymore. It's looking more like suds, foam from a washing. And yet the foam is on the outside of that round bit. So if this were a washing machine, are we inside the washing machine? Is she going to tell me that she got inside of her washing machine tub thing, did the washing while she was in it, holding her smartphone, going round and round, and then took the shot. Oh God, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what's going on here. So what is it? I don't know what it is, but that's fun, isn't it? And it is really quite enigmatic. There are kind of clues because, see, there's this flash here, and that's making me think, okay, maybe that's the flash of a camera. So that looks like it's reflecting in something. So is this a mirror? Has she somehow, is the back of the machine full of soap a kind of mirror reflecting thing, and she's taking it through the window? I don't know. Anyway, you know, enigmatic, isn't it? So play with your shots, have fun with them, and throw out the odd what is it and see what happens. Much more fun to be interactive, to have people discussing something. And in order to get people discussing something, instead of just saying, oh, well, that's lovely, or liking it, is to ask a question or say something contentious. But in photographic circles, we don't normally do that, do we? So let's move on to my second photograph. Talking of contentious, talk amongst yourselves for a second. Is this contentious? What do you think of this? Well, I thought I'd throw something in that, you know, a little bit grittier and grimier than my usual picture postcard perfect stuff like the pyramid of the Louvre with the sunset behind it. Isn't that sweet? I mean, I do that sort of stuff sometimes, but I go to Paris and I wander around and I have no agenda, and I wait for Paris to talk to me, to say, hey, have a look at this. What do you think? Could that be a photograph? And if some sort of chemistry happens in my brain, it turns into a photograph. And you know what? More often than not, Paris throws homeless people at me. That's just the way it is. And I don't judge. And Paris often tells me, this is worth taking a photograph of. It can get a little bit, people can have discussions about this. In other words, should you show the faces of people who are homeless? And it's a very good question. This is, you know, deep down, dirty, gritty street photography. Well, it's in the metro, but for me, street photography, I'm stopping using that term now. I'm just saying what I do. I go to Paris, I walk around, I travel, I talk to people, I observe, and photographs happen. Because I don't like labels, and even street photography is a label. So this isn't in the street, it's in the metro. But you know what? Oh, so many metro stations, they have homeless people because it's warm, there's somewhere to sit, which isn't too disgusting, except it often becomes disgusting. And from a photographic point of view, you often get some, I was going to say beautiful contrasts. It's not really beautiful, isn't really the word, and contrast isn't the word. I would say more like gritty irony. It's, you know, really searing irony. Because not only do you have people who are quite happy taking the metro with their tickets, you've got people who it's almost their home, but you often, with posters, you often get some, you know, rather ironic juxtapositions. So here there's this guy with his beer and his cigarettes, and he's got dirty clothes, and he's actually sleeping next to where someone might be sitting for the train. But then you've got this idyllic poster with these lovely fresh fruit, and the name of the brand is Innocent, and the slogan is Le bon côté des choses, the good side of things, or the good side of life. Obviously, if you drink their wonderful drink, you're drinking the good side of life. You're benefiting from all of nature's bountiful gifts. Except this guy isn't, is he? Not really. So this is something that is really at the heart of wandering around photography, instead of calling it street photography, wandering around and seeing what happens photography. It's seeing this irony in our society, and that's a big part of what I enjoy doing, is pointing out visually or in words things that sort of, in French they have a good word, qui cloche, which kind of means which rings, or rings false, like ding, it just rings false. And that's a big part of what interests me in capturing images. It's showing contrasts and irony. So there you go. The good side of things, except not for him, not really. And quite a few of my photographs involve that sort of topic. And not 20%, maybe 2%, but still. Let's move on now to another shot. Now this is completely different. This is from 𝗪𝗧𝗃, and 𝗪𝗧𝗃 says this. Now she didn't put this in for critique, for analysis, or for appreciation, but there was a point that I did want to make, and she says, I'll make it even bigger so you can see it, admire it while I'm reading what she says. There we go. That's pretty much it, isn't it? This bird was fun, taking my niece's cookie. He stands on the couch. He's on a couch, mind you. My niece wins the fight of who keeps the cookie. And she says that the colors of the sofa and the bird are beautiful. Yes, they are. They're lovely, aren't they? Now, the first thing that strikes me here is the textures. You've got two bits which have no texture or pretty uniform, where the blackbird is sitting. Is it a blackbird? I don't know, because blackbirds, don't they normally have yellow beaks? And this more beigey thing here. Then you've got two very strong textures on the left and right, and you've got the bird. So what do you do with this? So straight away, let me talk about the rub my hands thinking what I'm going to say. Don't worry, I'll be kind. I'm not sure about cropping, whether that's an issue or not. I'm not going to talk about cropping because I'll go somewhere else. What I'm thinking is, when you've got a bird or an animal which has essential characteristics which make it a bird, the legs, the tail, the beak, the head, for example, do your best to highlight those against something which does it justice. In other words, it's a black bird, try and put it against something pale. Obviously, a bird comes, you can't just move a little bit to the left, the right, back, stop. It just doesn't work like that. But having said that, maybe she had several shots, and maybe one of them had the bird's head actually against this beige bit only, completely surrounded by the beige bit. Because what happens here is the beak goes into the cushion and gets a little bit lost. So if you've lost the front of the head of the bird, it's a bit of a shame. It would be stronger if you hadn't done that. Notwithstanding what I just said about you can't choose. You got the shot. That's the main thing, get the shot. Here's a professional technique. Take a hell of a lot of photographs when you see something you like. Take the first one as you're moving the camera to get the shot. Seriously, many times I've done this and many times I haven't. And when I haven't, I've often regretted it. You see something spontaneous. If your camera isn't in your hand, it's like, whoa, like some sort of Western. And as you're moving the camera into position, you're shooting in case the bird disappears, because birds tend to do that. Especially if you've seen them in a really nice position, they're not going to stay there for long. So the first thing is take the shot. The minute, the second, the microsecond, the subject is in the frame, just take the shot. And if they're still there, move it slightly and take another one. And if they're still there, maybe move back gently and take another one, or twist it around, zoom in, zoom out, do all the fancy stuff, but get the shot. And very many times in my photography, and the ones you'll see in my series, When Lady Eiffel Smiles, you look at them and you might think, wow, hey, that's cool. You might not. You might just think, it's a shot. But in many cases, it's a shot that is worth looking at, in my opinion, because it was the first shot of what I saw. And I took many others after, and they just weren't any good. Or I'd missed the moment, the bird flying perfectly against that plain backdrop. The one before it, it was off the shot. The one after it was out of the shot. And that was the oh my God, click, click, click. Oh, it's gone. But I got the shot. So there's and another professional technique is take a lot of shots. Pixels don't really cost anything. So shoot. So if the bird was here, I know the bird would be twitching around, moving, hopping back and forth, maybe just zooming off. So I would be going click, 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 click. There's even a button, you press your finger down and it takes a whole lot. You can end up with far too many if you do that. but I think you can at least go click, 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 click as it moves slightly. And one of them would be good. One, the head will be twisted away and you won't see the beak at all. And a bird, we think of a bird having a beak, not being a little round thing, you know. So the difference between a bird with a beak and just a round blob, the one with the beak is better. If you're taking a picture of a bird, make it look like a bird. If you've got two birds together and they're very close, try and get one where there's a nice interaction between them, where they both have their heads like this, not one like this and one away. You see, it's not as strong. Or one higher and one lower, or them touching, or whatever. These are all things to take into account. You've got two black birds against each other, not separated. It'll kind of merge into one sort of unidentifiable blob. I was trying to combine the word blob with the word bird. Blurb. Turn into a blurb. Well done. You know, 𝗕𝗔𝗀𝗪 is a wonderful photographer and she gets some really great shots. Every single shot she sends in, it's normally completely different. Great. Okay, and let's do another one which isn't mine. This was one again which wasn't asked to be critiqued, but I wanted to talk about it. It's from Beth, and this is in our weekly theme, which this week is, can you guess? Probably can't. Branches. Because it's not branches of trees. It's actually, well, the thing was you could interpret it literally, go out looking for tree branches, or you could imagine the word branch to be, you know, larger, like a branch in a road, a branch in a track, a branch in a railway, a branch in a stream, or even stranger branches. I was going to show you a few in the series, but I decided to keep it focused on these 9. And I was just wondering whether there was something interesting to say about this. I often get this effect in the metro. In the metro in Paris, there are long corridors with escalators or walking walkways. And the receding lines are absolutely stunning from all directions, from the ceiling, the edges, the escalator itself, the handrails, the bit where the escalator floor meets the wall. It's just, and I'll probably show you one, absolutely stunning. But what do you do with that vanishing point, this bit here? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you put it exactly in the middle of the photograph, like here? The vanishing point is this bit here. I don't know if you call it that in photography, but that's what I learned when I was about 11 in art class, which I probably failed, like most of the things at school, including French. I say that having lived here for 26 years. I failed my French exam. Quite proud of that. No, I'm not proud of it. But anyway, so this is the vanishing point where all those lines recede off into the distance and boom, you can't see them anymore. People would maybe possibly say having it going into the distance exactly in the middle of the photograph isn't necessarily the most inventive choice, let's say. There are times to break rules, and rules aren't even rules. They're just things people say are possibly, you know, they're like cliches. People say cliches because there's good meaning in them. You know, my grandma always says, well, she said it because often it was true. And photographic rules, for example, are the same. They're not rules. There's no law. You know, you go out and you put something in the middle, the photographic police aren't going to come along, except in some photography groups they will, but not in ours. And, you know, but having said that, what about if you tried it elsewhere? So let's try that elsewhere. I'm going to do something quite simple. I'm going to crop it in 4 different ways. Shall I keep it square? I'll keep it square, right? So it's pretty much square, right? So let's do that. Crop it there. Actually, what I'm going to do is copy visible, edit, paste as new image. Has that worked or not? What's going on? Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, all right, let me do this. Oh, it's going to be a bit of a pain, isn't it? I'm going to move this across and let's crop it there. Edit, copy visible, edit, paste as new image. And back we go. Move it down. I hadn't thought of doing this before I started doing it. I'm rather pleased with this idea. Copy, edit, paste as new layer. No, image. You're now witnessing how I spend a lot of my life. Welcome to my world. Edit, copy visible, edit. Paste as new image. Right, here we are. So theoretically, we've got 4 new possibilities. And let's see what you think. So that's the original, is it? No, it's not the original. Okay. Right, there's this. Just try and put it in the middle. There's this, and there's this. All right. So the vanishing point is now in the bottom left, bottom right. Now it's in the bottom left. Now it's in the top right. Now it's in the top left. Interesting. Let's do that again. Which do you like best? Make your decisions. The vote's coming to an end in a second. And the winner is, oh my God, who's gonna, I'm gonna make a snap decision, okay? Snap decision. Oh my God, I can't, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Okay, out of those 2, what I often do when I can't decide, I find 2 which are quite similar and I get rid of one of them. All right, so those 2 are quite similar. So which one's it's going to be? Which one? Left or right, left or right? I'm going to go for this one. Why? Okay, I'm going to go for this one. There's something about the, basically when it's off, the track is off to the side and the vanishing point goes up to a point which isn't in the middle, it pleases me more, normally. It can be a very striking photograph if it goes into the middle, the exact middle, but it's more of a graphic composition, playing with lines and shapes and triangles. This is a rough path. So for me, it makes more sense. But if something goes off onto the right, it dominates the right side of the photograph, with the tree having a really nice balance up in the top right. What about the left? What about the left? You can't leave it empty. Well, you can, but you don't have to, because look, you got this panel here. You got that sign. That fills in. It's kind of a balance to the tree. I mean, if you're looking for balance, it's not an exact science, but what makes this more balanced? Hang on, let me look at the other one. Here you've kind of got nothing on the right. If you drew a line halfway down the middle of the photograph there, on the right, it's absolutely sort of featureless. It's nothingness. But what about if you draw a line down the middle here and look at the left? Well, in that case, you've got a pole, which leads more into the photograph because it carries a point as well, a row of poles, and one of them is off on the left side of the midline. And you've got this panel. It fills it in. It stops it being nothing. You see what I mean? But it's less important. It's less big than the tree. Otherwise, it would dominate the tree. It would make it more balanced and less. You know, we like anomalies. We like things which aren't perfectly balanced. There's something about it. But you'll notice that the road, the track on the left, does come out well into the bottom left of the picture. So we're not losing it. And one more comment on this. The triangle, the green triangle on the right, just below the tree, it's a triangle, you see, is smaller than the big green triangle on the left. But the tree poking up above the green triangle on the right is much bigger than the little panel sticking up above the hedge on the left. You see, so there's a lot of triangle, a little triangle, a lot of tree, a little panel. So all of this goes to balance things in the mind. And that's not even talking about this one. How am I doing for time? 40 minutes. I think I'm doing okay, folks. I try to keep this to an hour. All right, so let's have a look at these 2. This is going to some serious depth, you see, but the more you do this, the more these feelings, often it's a feeling, will hit you in the flash of the blink of an eye, literally the blink of an eye. You look at one, look at the other. Yeah, obviously it's that one. You don't know why. Let's do the same with these. This one or this one. No, I've done that. Have I done that or not? No. Oh, again, I'm getting confused. Yeah, we did those 2 and I chose this one. Now, out of these 2, which one do you prefer? Number 1, number 2. Number 1, number 2. I'm going for number 1 again for exactly the same reason. I don't have to get inventive and invent another reason. It's the same reason, it's still valid. So now, which do I prefer? This one or this one? This one or this one? Make a snap decision on 3 and say which you prefer. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm going to make a snap decision. Oh, it's hard. Oh my God, oh my God. I'm going to go for this one. I'm irritated because I'm not convinced, but that's what you have to do in photography, especially when you're playing with a load of photographs. You can't spend your whole life, you know, this one or this one. You just got to go for one and move on. There's more important things. I kind of like the blue here. You know, it's a lovely huge bank of blue with those lines coming down, the electricity lines filling in that top left. And, you know, the horizon's about a third of the way up, but with the tree and I like it, I like it. To be honest, the contrast of the blue and the green, I'm already regretting my decision, but it's not irrevocable. But anyway, there you go. So there's some thoughts on those photographs there, on that photograph, which started off like this, remember? A long, long time ago, the long and very straight forked road. Is it forked? Well, it's a forking nice photograph anyway. There was someone in the group who did, in the branches stream theme, took a picture of a fork, and I obviously couldn't resist saying that it was a forking good photograph. And now we move on to my third picture. By the way, if you want to leave a comment so that I can see it, do. But to leave a comment so I can see it, you have to be watching on my personal profile page. So that's facebook.com/𝗏𝗏_Paris. And that's it. And if you want me to see who you are, you need to go to this page, streamyard.com/Facebook, and say, yes, you can show my name. And then I see who you are. Right, 3 more photographs to go. And hopefully this will be interesting, because what I'm going to do is compare my very first shot, which was this one, with another shot. Right, what do you think of this? I'll get rid of this banner just for a second. Show it in some of its full glory. So I'm comparing this and this. It's the same thing. This, can you see that? Is the edge of this. Obviously it's a different angle, it's a different time of day, different background, but the pyramid is here on the right, with this angle coming down here, this angle coming down here. And reflected in the pyramid is the Louvre, you know, that old building that kind of gets in the way of the pyramid. You know, there was a huge scandal when they decided to put this, you couldn't get more modern than the Louvre pyramid. Just this, although apart from the pyramid shape, which is very old and ancient, you know, Egyptian pyramids and such like. So there's that. But I mean, it was just these panels of glass in the courtyard of, you know, the most famous museum in the world, probably, with all these old buildings and stuff. But I wasn't around when they did it, so I don't mind. I just arrived and it was there. So I kind of went with the flow and thought, oh, that's interesting. And I admired the fact that they've done it. But I will still talk to people who are kind of ambivalent, or they hate it, or they love it, or they hated it, now they love it. And, you know, it's kind of there's several of these places in Paris. So me, I don't judge, I just wander around and see what happens. And Paris said to me, hey, have a look at this. And so there are angles, because the pyramid, the edge of the pyramid is at an angle, but that kind of wasn't enough for me. I didn't think it was too literal. I'm not such a fan of horizontal and vertical lines. I don't know if you've noticed, apart from the ones on the edge of the photograph. And even those, sometimes you can play with them. But obviously, if you look at the real thing, the Louvre, I mean, it's not real, it's a photograph, people. You're looking at your computer screen. But if you look at what's supposed to be the real building, which is the Louvre, it's not actually at that angle. you know. So I tilted it to literally make a composition that pleased me in the square of the photograph. And that's what happened. And then I played around with it afterwards. Reflections in a multifaceted, the Louvre pyramid is made up of a whole bunch of, can we see it here? What shape are they? Yeah, it's, you know, it's lozenge shaped, diamond shaped pieces of glass. So that obviously gives you multiple, they're not all perfectly aligned. So the reflection is kind of chopped up. If you look up here, it's incredibly chopped up. It's really quite amazing. This is literally the roof, the perfectly smooth roof here on the left has turned into this sort of chopped up piece of architecture there. So the whole point of this is not really to say anything more than for any given subject, you can represent it in an infinite number of ways. I mean, if you move one step to the right, it's a new way. But then, of course, you can go to the utmost radicality you can possibly imagine. So there's no limit. I mean, one of my photographic challenges, maybe the biggest, I'm not sure, is to continue to take photographs of my muse, which is the Eiffel Tower, throughout my time here, and to never take a shot which resembles another one. You know, it's got to be really quite different. It's a challenge, but I mean, how can it not be possible? How many angles do you think there are that you could take the Eiffel Tower from? How many things you could put in front of it, put next to it? What could you do with the camera? How could you process it afterwards? There's no limit to even taking a standard monument. Or what about yourself? Could you take an original photograph of yourself every day until the end of your life? Well, why not? Why not? Look, I mean, if I did this one day and then I did this the next, it's different, isn't it? So there's only one limit to photography and your inventiveness of your photographs. And that's in your imagination, your openness to letting ideas come. And that's what I help people with if they need help or encouragement. I can't make them creative because they're the only people who could be creative. But I do insist that they are creative and don't accept that they're not. And that often helps. 2 more shots to look at and then we're done. And then I will tell you, I'll spend 10 minutes on the masterclass, help you sign up if you want to, and then we'll be done for today. I'm doing 9 of these. Can you imagine? 9 of these. It's crazy. This is number 3. So this is photograph number 26, and then we'll do 27, and we're out of here. This is from Ingrid, and she says, I find it lacks depth. In reality, the space is very spacious. What can I do? I'm translating from French into English. It's why it's kind of weird what I'm saying. And how can I make the contrasts pop? Contrasts, how can I bring them out? That's a very good question. Those are all good questions. I have no idea I can answer any of them. So have a look at this. What do you think? First of all, what do you think? Don't listen to somebody else blabbing on until you've decided what you think. I mean, if you think it's wonderful, you could literally, you know, turn the video off and do something else. And my little definition of a great photograph is, if you think it's great, then it is. That's it. But of course, I do this because I think that people enjoy thinking about different ways of doing things and finding more and more of their photographs great. That's why I do it, not because, you know, I have any monopoly on what the good photograph is. Far from it. It'd be like me saying, you know, I'm going to help you enjoy music more. Listen to more of the music I like. Okay, then you'll enjoy music more. So, one of the first things you think about with this sort of photograph, one of the first things to think about is there some foreground interest? Because the danger is it's just one big sort of blur going into the distance. There's nothing to catch your eye. It's just all sort of the same texture. There's a bunch of grass, there's a bunch of leaves, there's a bunch of water, there's a bunch of reflections, there's a bunch of sky, a bunch of trees. And so what? there is foreground interest. Foreground interest gives the photograph depth. In other words, something big and clear in the foreground makes you realize that there's a whole bunch of other stuff behind it. If there's nothing for all the other stuff to be behind, then it all looks like a mishmash. You know, there's nothing jumps out. So you've got these big logs, these cut logs. They're very clear, they're very big, and they're a very different color to the rest. Great, you've got foreground interest. Marvelous. So it's not that lacking in depth, is it? Other ways of increasing depth? Well, I mean, you can make the foreground sharp and the background fuzzy, although in landscape photography you often don't do that. Depends. The lighting can help you to bring out something. You know, if the foreground is bright and the background is dark or getting softer or paler, ranges of mountains often do that. You'll notice a range of mountains, it's classic. Anyone can paint a range of mountains in about 2 seconds in watercolor. You just do the lines, the higher and higher bits of mountain, you make them paler because they're going into the distance. You don't have that here because there isn't a range of mountains. Yeah, you're kind of right, to be honest. Maybe it does lack depth, and I'm not really sure what you can do about it over and above what I've said. There is a bright bit of water behind that sort of brushwood, which kind of gives it depth. You know, you feel that the water is going off into the distance. You've got a nice reflection here, except the lighting is very dull. There's no sun, the sky is overcast. So although you've potentially got a nice reflection, there's no real rich colors in it. So that doesn't help. And to be honest, this branch kind of gets in the way of the water. Something nice about water is reflections or brightness. It gives brightness or sparkle. And this sort of nondescript brushwood sort of thing does kind of get in the way. If that wasn't there, it would probably be a stronger photograph. And I guess you could crop if you like. It's always an option. Where would you crop? Maybe like this. What about if you did this? Don't want too much grey sky. It doesn't do much, does it? Grey sky. Image. Yeah, is that already a little bit nicer? Probably. Yeah, I think that's a stronger photograph. You've got less of the boring stuff, the sky, a little bit less of the foreground. Did I crop the foreground? And that actually brings out the brightness of the water behind. And it also makes, if you crop but keep in these wooden things, they become bigger in relation to the whole photograph. So it's more foreground interest. So that's my comment on that. There's one other thing you can do, and that is post-process the thing. Slam in, you know, up the contrast, up the brightness. Maybe get those shadows a bit pulled out and a bit brighter, contrast in, and you could almost create an entirely different photograph if you play around with the levels in an app in your smartphone afterwards. One more to go. And the winner is 𝗙𝗪𝗄𝗧. 𝗙𝗪𝗄𝗧, if you've been watching like for an hour just to get to this, I'm really sorry. You know, I'm a bit nervous. I don't think it's going to be very spectacular what I'm going to say. So what I did was I chose this. You didn't submit it for comments. So, you know, you didn't ask for any comments, but I've got some. She said, just walking by. This was in the branch theme. Just walking by. This caught my eye. 𝗙𝗪𝗄𝗧, wake up. I'm talking about your photograph. I am fascinated by plants and trees covering buildings. It's beautiful and wild. Yes, it is. I can imagine in summer, this is just completely green with the little window just poking out of an entire mass of leaves and stuff. However, it isn't summer, and it's actually a completely different feel, isn't it, to summer where everything's rich. You've got the fallen autumn leaves. Some of them are still caught up underneath the window in the branches which go below the window there. And they're the same color as the window, exactly the same color. That's nice. And so the thing I wanted to say about this was angles. I've got a comment here. I bet it's from Madame 𝗙𝗪𝗄𝗧, is it? Wonderful tip so far. Not watching for my own photos only. Oh, that's very, very generous of you. giving your eyeballs to other people's photographs. So what about this? Well, the thing that struck me about this was when you've got an interesting subject that doesn't neatly fit a standard, you know, this way on shot or this way on, what do? You could obviously you could take it this way or this way, and if it didn't all fit in, you could just walk back. But sometimes you don't want everything else that appears when you walk back. You know, like half the screen, half the shot full of sky, the trash cans on the right there. You know, car. Sometimes you don't want that. It is to forget nature, to forget horizons and gravity and, you know, stuff that is supposed to be this way up, and turn the camera so that you can fit it all in and, you know, stuff the rest. So houses obviously aren't normally at this angle, but she has got all of the branch coming in. I know I'm the wrong way around in this photograph, in this image, but that's the way I see things, coming in and then going below the window and going over the top just, but she decided to take it like this. And that's an option. You've actually got the bottom branch nicely fills the bottom of the frame, and, you know, you do what you can, or you do what you like. So as soon as you take something which is supposed to be horizontal, like a house, off the horizontal, you're kind of saying to people, I don't care about the house anymore. This is about something else. This is about nature doing what it wants. And nature doesn't grow in perfect horizontal or vertical lines. So why should the photograph do that either? And the tree is almost taking over the house. It's not respecting its lines. I mean, it's face, but it's very nice to see the lines of, you know, industrial stuff, man-made things, in contrast to nature's utter lack of lines, straight lines, I mean. So that's the comment that I've got on that. You don't have to respect something. Now, there is another comment, and that is, if you're taking a picture of a house, let's say, either do it at such a wacky angle that it's clear that you're going abstract, you're going down the abstract route, or have it horizontal, I mean, or vertical. In other words, have vertical lines that are supposed to be vertical or horizontal. The classic is the seascape. You take a picture of the sea, however beautiful it is, and the horizon is like this. Okay, so you haven't artistically taken a wacky angle because there's some other thing to throw it into contrast. You just didn't get the horizon straight, and that shows. You know, there's one thing the eye is going to say. It's your horizon isn't perfectly straight. Your photograph could be as beautiful as you like. You know, it could be stunning. The colors, doesn't matter. If part of your composition isn't a wacky angle, but the horizon's slightly off, it ain't going to cut it. That's what people are going to notice. They're going to say, "Oh, you couldn't get the horizon straight. Shame. Would have been a nice photograph otherwise." But here it's obvious. I mean, unless you were really drunk. Oh, I'm going to get this picture of the house. Oh, I love those lines. Unless it was that, and you've been drinking a bit too much of the green smoothie, it's clear that the angle either way there, and it's nice, you know. You've got the coming in on there, this one going up like that, this one like that, the window. So there you go. And that's all. So thank you everybody for submitting or not submitting your photographs, and for watching on the replay. Hello replay people, watching live. Hello live people. And now I'm going to go into 10 minutes, which I time, of me talking about the masterclass, which you should join if you like photography. And it only happens once a year. And I'm going to time 10 minutes so that I can say to people, the last 10 minutes of the video are all about the masterclass and how it works. Right, so here we go. I'm just going to get back to my screen. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed those tips and comments. Send your photographs in. I need more. I've got to do another 81 minus 27 of these. So bring them in, send them in with questions. And I will change screens and I will move over to, there is no obligation, carry on watching, because if you've seen me talking about the masterclass already, you might know what I'm going to say. So let me spend 10 minutes talking about the masterclass. I'm going to get rid of a screen I don't need there. And I'll kind of go through the page and make comments as we go. It's the combination of my entire life's photographic experience and my life experience up until now. Photography is one of those things. It's a wonderful thing. For me, it's much, much more than photography. It's about life, as writing is about life. I mean, what can you point your camera at? You can point your camera at anything, and very much what you pointed at is based on what's behind the camera. In other words, you. A photograph is a reflection, in a way, of you. You're giving all of yourself when you create something artistic like a photograph. And it's the same for writing. What can you point your pen at? You can point your pen or keyboard at anything, can't you? You can write about anything. You can photograph anything. So we cover all of that. I'm not even sure why I'm saying that now. But yeah, all of my photographic experience is much, much more than just about photography. And this masterclass is divided into different sections. The last main section is about that. It's about developing your photographer's eye. Let me zoom down this page. You can find this page at infinitecreativitynow.com. You go there and there's a link to take you straight to this page, infinitecreativitynow.com. Should I be fancy and put the link there? And let me just go down to the modules. All of the photographs on this page are taken by me on my little old smartphone. And if I can do it, you can do it, because if you've got a smartphone, you've got the same capabilities, you've got the same applications you can download. What you might not have is some of the approaches and the attitudes, which I will show you. And you might not know what some of the buttons do. So all of that is covered. So I'm going to go down to the modules and I'm going to show you what I was just talking about. Module 4, there's 5 modules. This is an experience product. In other words, everything has been done to make it doable, fun, motivating, exciting, and you achieve the objective. You set yourself a goal at the beginning. You set yourself a goal. I don't set it, I help you. Because the idea is goals are motivating. But they can stress you out, which is not good. It's not fun. And you can miss them. You can fail. That's not nice. It's not nice to fail. It's not nice to feel you failed. So that's just one example of how this does things to get rid of those problems. The challenge of goals is great, it's exciting, but you set your own goals, plus you set 3. You set one that is really easy, really doable. You set one that is the standard goal for this program, and you set one which is, you could call it a stretch goal. It's for people who have got loads of time, because it's not necessarily about difficulty. It might just be about time. The stretch goal, you've got loads of time, or you are determined to go crazy on this and do the maximum. Get the maximum out of it as we do it live. You've got access to everything forever. So you don't have to do it, but I want you to achieve your goal. But if it's not the stretch goal, it's the standard goal. And just imagine, you want to take it easy. You don't have much time, or you want to do it several times. So the first time you want to go for the low goal, the easy one. Choose the lowest goal and you set it. Don't forget, I guide you, because you can't just do like one photograph every 3 weeks. That doesn't work. But the lowest goal to really succeed in this program is really low, a very low number of photographs per week. So that's a little bit about goals. And so module 4 out of the 5. Module 5, I'm going to go backwards this time. I've got to keep myself amused. So in the other videos, in the other warm-ups to the masterclass, I started at module 1 and went through to number 5. How boring. So module 5, the last one, it's only 1 week. It's the culmination. You finish your project and you present your work. You present it as an exhibition. It's really fun. It's going to be great. An exhibition, don't get scared. It can just be a little exhibition online with photographs that I can even put on a web page if you like. And we talk about it together in our little group. Okay, so be very friendly and safe. If you want, you can hold a huge live exhibition print your photographs, put them on the wall in a real gallery, if that's an option for you. Or you can do something in between. You can have a little exhibition in your living room for your family, you know, your kids, or you could even just have an exhibition, run a slideshow on your computer and have a few people around for snacks and to talk about your photographs. Presenting your photographs, mind you, you present them and you talk about them. That's part of it. That's what you're going to do. So however modest, however grand, that is the objective. That's your mission. So that's the last one. You graduate, nice certificate and everything. You hit a button, things explode on the screen. It's all very fun. Module 4 is the advanced module, but you're completely ready for it by this stage. And this is called developing the photographer's eye. This is after you've got completely familiar with your smartphone. You are really happy with all sorts of composition elements and all sorts of things like that. This is where we go to the next level and we get spontaneous. You've already got your toolbox full of techniques. Now you wander around and you let the city speak to you, you let nature speak to you, and you see what happens. So going backwards, module 3, it's the biggest module. It's the core module. You work on composition, you work on also lighting, and well, I say I don't need to search around more because composition has lots and lots of different elements to it. And then module 2, before that, is getting the hang of your camera, getting familiar with your camera and apps. Apps are part of photography these days, and it's something that, well, people often played around with their photographs after even taking them on big cameras. But these days, my principle is do everything on your camera. Do everything on your smartphone. Everything. All of my photographs are entirely done on my smartphone. Nothing else has been done to them except possibly resizing them. And apps are amazing. I've incorporated apps into my photographic process. I'm not a purist, and I use what I've got, what appeals to me, and the apps are amazing. I use them, but I try to use them judiciously. I divide apps into two sorts. One is to correct photographs because the photograph isn't as, oh God, what's the word? I've got the French word, not authentic. Anyway, it's not as it doesn't look like it did in real life. Like it's too dull, it's too bright. So you can correct it to make it more like it was. That's a technical thing, technical adjustment. The other is an artistic adjustment. You know, you blow up the colors, you make it brighter, you make it darker, you make it saturate the colors, you put a funky texture, you put a border around the edge. This is creative apps. And we talk about both. In the very first module, which is a week, it goes 1 week, then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week. Okay, so it's a very beautiful process. And I've also developed a motivational system called the Rainbow Mountain system, which it's really good. And it gets you through the course. Any course can be a challenge. So I've incorporated everything I possibly can into it to get you through. No student is left behind. There you go. So the first module, which lasts a week, it's an introduction to photography, the joy of photography. This is about joy, about pleasure. It's about creative expression. It's about all of that and more. It's about forging links. When you show a beautiful photograph to somebody, you're forging a connection with that person. It's not about the photograph. It's about two people appreciating something. And you can stimulate them to be creative, and then they'll share their creations with you. It's a lovely thing. And yeah, so go to this page, check it out. All the photographs come from a smartphone that I used. And yeah, I don't have too much to say, and that's good because we're coming to the end of this 10 minutes. If you want the early bird thing, go for it now because it's going to disappear in some time. I'm not quite sure when. Well, I am sure, except no, I don't think I'll make adjustments. You've got 6 days to get the early bird. When you go, you click on any of these buttons here, click to join, and you get a form. And the form asks you for a coupon code. And you put in early bird in capitals, Lee. I'll do it for you, okay? You just have to give me your credit card number. You do early bird, you hit return, and the price goes from $297 right the way down to $197. just for you, just now. Sorry, could you give me just type your credit card into the chat there and I'll put it in for you. All right, so that's the end of this. I've been talking for 10 minutes. There you go. Whoa! Thank you so much for watching. There'll be 6 more of these. Ah! Run screaming into the hills, and someone will take a photograph of you, and I'll thanks a lot. We've got 6 more, and then the masterclass will start. I very much hope you will join me on the masterclass. It's going to be amazing. Your photographs will be incredible by the end of it. You won't believe the difference, and it'll be great fun doing it too. So until tomorrow, feel free to send more of your photographs in for analysis. The pleasure will be all mine, and talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.